Welcome to Color Harmony. My name is Eric Francis. Today, we'll be talking about structure. We begin by making a drawing on canvas. We then outline the drawing in umber. We then wash umber over the drawing, and we're ready to begin. Let's go. So the reason why we're discussing structure today is someone asked me a question. How do you get things to look real? How do you get things to look like the thing that you're actually trying to paint? So what I'm going to show you today is how I build solid, sound structure for my paintings. So let's take a look at this drawing. It's a sketch I did in preparation for the painting. It's pretty okay, but there's a problem with the underlying structure. As you can see in figure A over here, you see that it's kind of off. And in figure B, you see that I made all the corrections. See, if I would have simply went with what I did in figure B, and I started off with just basic structure lines like that and made sure they were all perpendicular to each other, the drawing would have been fine. Now, the drawing is off because I didn't pay attention to something simple. Something simple is structure. And this is something we have to pay a lot of attention to when we're doing realistic drawings. So before you begin to draw on the thing, make sure that all the lines, the underlying structure is correct. Now let's take a look at the reference photo. Before I begin to draw a thing and paint a thing, I spend a good amount of time, say no less than 5 minutes, just staring at it. Now, what do you think I'm looking for? I'm looking at all the angles, all the curves, all the shapes. I'm just looking at it and seeing it and getting to know the thing visually. See, what you see in this second drawing is, since this is structure, these lines would be considered scaffolding. I actually draw lines in on the drawing that kind of give me measurements for everything. I don't measure like where the eye is. I measure a spot, you know, a little dot, a little space. I measure that space. Because when it comes to painting realistically, you have to think in terms of space, in terms of lines and angles and curves. You can't go about naming everything. Naming things kind of puts you out of the artist's state of mind. What brings you into the artist state of mind is thinking of things as angles and curves and lines and space and shapes. For example, if you look at this little red area by the finger, the ear, and the cheek, that negative space, that's something I'm looking for when I'm making the drawing. And if you look at this blue space, this positive form that's right by the cheek, right by the nose, like I'm looking for stuff like that to draw. These blue lines represent what my eye is doing. Like I'm constantly measuring space in between that shape and this shape. I'm looking at angles, like I'm trying to see how far from horizontal or vertical something is. These gray pencil lines are actual lines I put on the drawing to make sure everything is measured up right. If you made a photocopy of the reference, you can actually just draw on it, just like this right here, and transfer these lines onto the drawing while you're making it, to make sure everything is falling into the right place. This way, you never get an eye that's too big or a nose that's too small. Everything is always in place. Now let's take a look at the painting in an earlier stage. Now if you look closely, I don't know if you can see it very much, but there's a line going from the corner of the right eye or the corner of the left eye going down to the mustache. Because of this line, I know the mustache can't go any further to the left or to the right of that line. It's really precise precision work. Takes some getting used to, but you really do get used to it. Also, I did the same thing with the eyes to balance them out to make sure they were even and on level. I drew a line from the corner of the left eye to the corner of the right eye. And again, I don't really think of it as an eye. I'm just looking at points, I'm looking at lines, I'm looking at curves, I'm looking at shapes, I'm looking at color, areas of color. So, once you get the structure right, the painting falls right in line. So if it doesn't work out the first time, relax, be easy. I've been drawing and working with art since I was about 7 years old. I'm not saying it's going to take you that long, but it's easy for me to say it's going to work out sitting here. But you know it's the truth. Sometimes you just need somebody else to say it. So I'm saying it to you now. If you like what you see, do me a favor. Comment, like, favorite, share, or subscribe. These videos are made in response to questions I get asked all the time, so feel free to ask. There'll be a link in the description to my blog so you can go to my website and look at some other artwork. And if you like these videos and you really want to further support this content, donate. There's a link on my blog that takes you to PayPal. Peace. Till next time.